All right, welcome to another great episode of Transformed and Renewed. It is going down tonight, family, and this is going to be a great one because I actually have some props with me to really make sure that we have a very interactive time today. So I hope that you enjoy the props that I have, and if this is your first time checking out Transformed and Renewed, make sure that you subscribe to our channel at Robotic1212 or just simply hit that like button and make sure that you stay up to date with the content that I'll be sharing with you. So tonight, and I don't want to take much time, is we're going to be talking about you know ways that you can avoid being fooled by the food label. And I really thought this was a neat topic because it was one that when I looked back, I was like, I haven't really done a topic like this one. Probably a couple of weeks ago, I did one talking about the nutrition facts label, but I never did one specifically talking about the food labels. And I may have hinted in those videos, but today we're solely going to be focusing on different food labels. And I wanted to really, again, use some props. So I took some items out of my cabinets and pantry just to serve as a representative of type of things that you would actually see in the grocery store, or you can even actually go in your own cabinets or your pantry, and you'll actually see some of the things that I'll point out to you tonight. So one of the things I want to talk about is food labels. They're labels that most people would feel that they should be accurate. However, we know that's not the case. You have different groups who advocate over false claims or misleading claims that you may see in the grocery stores. And so again, I wanted to really take the time to point out some of those things. And, one of the other things that I will say when it comes to food labels is you have to take it with a grain of salt. Not everything that's presented, is presented with your best interest in mind. But you also have to realize companies at the end of the day, they are trying to stay in business. And the only way you can really stay in business is money, okay? And so again, that's not to really say that all companies are bad or they have, ill motives, but we are just trying to point out some ways that you can avoid allowing certain words or phrases fool you, when you're in the grocery store thinking that you're getting something when in actuality it's nowhere near it. Okay. So again, not to take too much time, so I'm just going to start it off with again some products, and I was trying not to reveal the products because I'm not trying to bash any company, but I'm just trying to drive home just an example. So one of the first ones that I will use, and we can really get it started off, is um, I might as well just say it, goldfish. Okay, and these particular ones, when I look at it, it's kind of bright, orange, gold, as it would be. But on the side of it, and I'm not sure if anyone who's watching has any, but if you look on the side, these particular are extra cheddar. And on the side, it talks about baked with real cheese. Okay, no artificial flavors or preservatives. Okay, so put your thinking cap on because many people when they see that they say, "Oh, okay, I can get this for my child. Safe snack. I can even snack on it too. So no issue." But then when you turn to the nutrition facts label, is where you really have to do some deeper analysis and just kind of ask yourself some questions. And that's going to be one thing, you know, I want to point out to you is, really start to ask questions when you're looking at the nutrition facts label, because sometimes you may assume, oh, a company put this, so it means that, they're actually healthy. Ah, not right. Okay. So really, let's take a look at this. Um, and I'm just kind of skimming down below the nutrition facts label. So, for me, when I'm looking at the nutrition facts label, of course, I'm looking at the macros, I'm looking at the sodium content, cholesterol, if any, and then, the sugar, the added sugar specifically. And I'm also looking at the micronutrients. So these are going to be the nutrients that are going to be below. It's a thick, dark black line that's just below the protein um, the protein label. And so these are going to be nutrients that some labels they may have, more than one macro or more than four macronutrients shown. But this particular, I want to look down into the ingredient section. So you kind of see enriched wheat flour. Okay. So with that, it depends again on what your goal is. If your goal is to really get, some whole wheat, then this may not really, suffice because you're only getting, um, how should I say, you're only getting partial wheat flour. You're not getting the full amount. Okay. So I'm just skimming down, but one thing that really comes out, well, a couple of things that really comes out to me is when I look at enzyme modified cheddar cheese, okay, and then when I also look at natural flavor, and then let's see, when I'm looking at vegetable oils, so and corn flour. And so the reason why I'm looking at those is because when I actually go down and look at another claim, it says contains bioengineered food ingredients. Okay, it says the ingredients from corn, soy, sugar, canola in this product come from genetically modified crops. And so when it comes to GMOs or genetically engineered foods, it's been a big debate. I think probably over a decade of debates about, is GMO foods healthy? Is it safe? It's bad for your health. Some people have even gone to, um, uh, issue lawsuits against companies just because of the claims. And so this is one issue, when it comes to GMO that is still, being debated even to this day because, information is always new and studies are currently being done to really assess, is there a negative health issue with this? To date, there has not been one, but, one of the things when it comes to GMO foods is the original intent was to provide, a larger yield of crops, especially during seasons when there was a drought. And so developing foods that were from GMO foods, allowed, different farmers, even companies to, mass produce certain foods without, having to spend more money on, generating food or even crops or produce, especially during seasons of drought. However, because of the fact that this is grown in the lab or it's lab based, you have different concerns and questions that come up. So again, this is one that I will say, I don't have all the information in terms of, if this is safe, if it's not. Even if I did, I would just only pose it as a recommendation for you to really make your best decision. Okay, so this is with goldfish. Moving on, I got it's kind of like it's like a soft baked muffin bar, as they call it. But one of the things that I noticed right on the front, and this is where you also have to put on your investigator eye, is when it says made with real fruit. Okay, now, and then this also says made with real fruit and whole grain. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is when it comes to whole grain, you know, you have labels that say made with whole grain, and then you have labels that say made with 100% whole grain, which is a big difference. Okay, so you may read this, you may think, oh, I'm getting like whole grain. I need this much. No, it says 8 grams of whole grain, but that doesn't mean that it's 100% whole grain. This could actually contain 20% whole grain, or it could even only contain 5% whole grain. And it shows that you're getting 8 grams, which may not even be the full amount. So these are again some things for you to really consider. All right, so let's really look at this. Um, I can already tell you off the bat, this is not a product that I would typically consume just because of one, the sugar level, and just the amount of calories per bar. I usually, if I have to eat something that's a snack, I usually like to get something that's um, is like low in calories, because I really like to get most of my calorie or caloric intake from meals. Okay, so we're looking at this one. We're looking at the ingredients label, and we're also looking at additional labels underneath the ingredients. So this one is similar to the goldfish, where it does say it contains bioengineered food ingredients, and then it does list the different ingredients. Corn syrup. We know that corn is one of those ingredients that is a bioengineered food ingredient. Potentially anything that's I want to say like a crop or a seed. These have been shown to be on the bioengineered food ingredients list. And so far, I mean, if a person looking at this label, they would say, "Oh, it seems like it's, pretty decent." But then when you see ingredients like brown sugar, yeah, people say, I have to see ingredients that's in my kitchen. But you have to realize that everything in your kitchen does not mean that it's healthy. Even when it comes to brown sugar, you have to also think, like I talk about with sugar, is if you're going to consume simple sugars, then that is really going to spike your blood sugar versus, consuming complex carbs such as, fruit, that it takes a minute for the starch for the sugar content to really break down. And over time throughout the day, you'll have like those, small spikes in your blood sugar, but it's like a steady amount to where like as you're going throughout the day, you're breaking that down and it's also, in line with your body. But when you're consuming those simple sugars, it's really going to spike your blood sugar. So something to keep in mind, I'm not trying to tell you how to eat. And then also I'm looking at this natural flavor. One thing about labels that talk about natural flavor is you never know what does that really mean. It could mean natural flavor from a tire, to be honest, and or it could even mean natural flavor from a old peanut hull or peanut shell that's been sitting around and has not even been cleaned. So I'm just giving you examples of what natural could mean because when you look at just the FDA and the USDA, how they really regulate it is very loose, when it comes to it. And a lot of these definitions are still kind of vague. And so that's why you still have a lot of people who, have been like going heavy in terms of lawsuits, just really forming like different groups, you know, about companies that have not really defined, definitions as it relates to food labels. So again, that was something to keep in mind. I want to go to a slightly different one. Let's see. So most of the ones that I've talked about, these have bioengineered food ingredients or genetically modified crops. This one that I have is extract, coconut extract, exactly. And this one also, talks about natural flavors. And again, that's one of those blurred lines because you never know what natural flavor is. This like from the coconut, that you are extracting the flavor from the coconut, or is this like a lab flavor that is, developed in the lab and you market it as, a natural flavor? Because some people may think, oh, natural flavor means that this is good, but what does it really mean? Okay, definitions that helps. Being plain as day. Okay, another one that I have is um, some black beans. Okay, black beans, just so you can see it. And on this one, it says in this label down here, it says no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. Okay, so when you're looking at this, you may say, okay, this is pretty healthy. And to be honest, organic black beans, it has, of course, beans, water, sea salt. Um, don't really care a whole lot for the sea salt because usually me, I like to add that to it. So that would be the only downside, when you start to add salt, sugar, and other ingredients that could affect, just the original content of the food itself. Then that is also something that you want to question. And this would also be something, especially if you're trying to avoid salt, and getting dry beans or dry black beans and then cooking those, that is going to be a better way, especially if you're trying to go low sodium. And this is also one that is low sodium, but depending on, again, how much you are consuming, those are some things that you want to keep in mind. But then on this one thing that I want to talk about This one has a lot on it. It talks about non-GMO. Okay, no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. And that's one that I've seen a lot of companies use, especially, if it doesn't really relate to it. Some companies, when it comes to canned products, they may use colors, um, some flavors. I've probably seen flavors a little bit more, and even preservatives. But when you think about the frequency of those, it's pretty minimum. But one of the reasons why you may see companies that use artificial colors or flavors or preservatives, and even with the non-GMO, is kind of going back to, whatever would really allow them to make, the best bang for the buck. And think about it: if you didn't include any of this, information on it, if people read the ingredients label, they would, pretty much see that it contains black beans, water, sea salt. But this is psychology when you think about it, because a person looks at this and says, okay, low sodium, no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. Company have really found ways to, really get into the mindset of, consumers, because they know, okay, people may not really care to study, the nutrition facts label, even look at, the small fine print, which it is so many details when you really study the fine print, even the back of the labels. It's a lot that you'll find, even when it comes to the origin, that a food product is actually made in. I actually seen, where companies, they can actually put, if a product was, um, manufactured in France, you know, so many things about that. One is, that product could have been shipped, from China, and it could have went through France, and, they marketed it that way based on just psychology. And the last one that I have is a actual multivitamin, means, and this is a lot. I'm not even going to show you the container, because I don't want to throw any shade again at any company. But this one, again, as you can see, I'm just going to show you that this is actually a supplement bottle. It contains a lot of ingredients, some that I would say kind of raise some flags or question marks. But this is one thing that you really want to pay attention to, is when it says contains 2% or less. Now, most people don't think that that is a lot, but then you also have to take into consideration, okay, 2% of this particular ingredient or component, how much is really, negative or unhealthy for me to consume, or not safe at all. Because even if it's a small amount, I really still don't even want it in the product. So one of these components you have is BHT. Like I said, that's, to me, raises a question mark, just in terms of what it has been related to in the news. And then we also look at, uh, so we said BHT, microcrystalline cellulose, which is, the acronym is MCC. That's also one that I would say, has been in the news as well, that I would keep an eye on, in terms of consumption, as well as, what is the, um, I guess, recommended daily allowance in terms of intake. And let's see, we're looking at sucrose. They have sucrose, and then they also have glucose, is what I saw. Some other components in here, but let's see. Those are some of the ones, and then most of these are essentially chemicals. So you have carboxyl methyl cellulose sodium. Some of these, again, I would really take a deep dive into understanding what these are, because again, when you're in the grocery store, you're shopping. You pick up a product because you're like, oh, this is a great company, I trust them. But are they really looking out for your best interests? Some of the things that I didn't cover in this one, again, I know we're going over a little bit, is looking at meats, grass fed versus meats that say all natural. One thing I want to share with you, when it comes to all natural, there's really no meaning for it, because again, the definition is not clear. All natural could mean like, okay, the chicken, was born and, it naturally went through an inhumane process. It was, it naturally went through a process of being slaughtered or crowded, in the shed. I'm just giving you an example of how this definition is essentially blurred. Then you have, products that grass fed or again, those are products that depend on your meal plan or your dietary needs. These are things that you really want to question. Think about, okay, why is this product saying no artificial colors, no flavors, gluten free, especially if it isn't a product that should contain gluten in the first place. So these are questions that you should, you know, be asking yourself when you are in the grocery store or even before you purchase certain foods. Because again, I don't want you to be the type of person where you end up in food. And I can tell you myself that I have done the same thing where I assumed, a product was one thing, and then when I really thought about it and did some research, I was like, no, that doesn't really line up. Okay, so again, family, didn't want to be too long with this topic, but I hopefully, I was able to share some information with you. And again, you can go through your cabinets or your pantries or on your next shopping trip. You actually apply some of these tools of really looking at the labels, asking yourself some questions, and really making some better and wiser decisions, with the information I shared with you tonight. So if you have any questions, make sure that you send me a message. If you like this topic, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like it, subscribe to our channel if you already have not. And make sure you tune in for more amazing episodes coming to you soon. Again, family, if you if you have an interest in certain topics that you would like me to talk about, feel free to message me. I'll look into it, and most of the times I'll likely drop some content on it. So hope you enjoyed today, family. Be blessed, and I will see you next time.